The NBA isn't only a game of basketball, but a business as well. That means that the financial aspect of the game is just as challenging as the basketball side.
Ball for the lead!
Players and teams often have to find a way to get the sweetest deals possible, but some contracts stand out more than others in the worst possible way. So now, here are the worst contracts in NBA history. Luol Deng, 4 years, $72 million. You probably never expected Luol Deng to appear here, but he is, as the owner of probably the worst contract the Los Angeles Lakers have ever given. We know that the Lakers don't care about giving out huge sums because this team will always make money, but Deng's contract seems to be an exception, even compared to the multi-million-dollar deals the purple and gold team has given out. In 2016, in preparation for Kobe Bryant's departure from the NBA, the Lakers signed the two-time All-Star forward to a 4-year, $72 million deal. It made sense initially, because Deng was more than capable than almost any player on that Lakers roster. The veteran forward was also the leader that the team needed.
Here's Deng on the drive.
But the expensive signing would bite the Lakers, as Deng only appeared in 56 games during his first season with the team. He averaged just 7.6 points per game. A season later, his final year with the Lakers, he continued making a ton of money while only appearing in one game. The team continued to pay him until 2022, even though he wasn't with the team. It's safe to say he scammed the Lakers and lived luxuriously without breaking a sweat. Grant Hill, 7 years, $93 million. We know that Grant Hill entered the league as one of the most talented players we've seen. He was supposed to be the next face of the NBA, as Jordan was well on his way out of the league. Hill was LeBron before LeBron started dunking. The only problem was that his health couldn't keep up during a time when training and medical teams weren't as good as they are today. In 2000, he signed a record 7-year contract worth $93 million with the Orlando Magic, a time when contracts weren't as big as the one he got.
Hill running with it. Grant on the drive, tosses it in.
The Magic thought they had broken the NBA because they also acquired the young Tracy McGrady, an emerging star ready to dominate the league. But Hill's stint with the Magic was forgettable because he couldn't stay healthy. While he managed to play well during the latter years of his career, Hill never returned to superstar form. Jordan Poole, 4 years, $128 million. At one point, it looked like Jordan Poole was the future of the Golden State Warriors. He had an air of confidence we haven't seen from a young player in recent memory. While he didn't always have the green light, he was shooting long bombs thinking he was Stephen Curry. But whatever he was doing worked for the Warriors because they won a championship in 2022 with him being one of their best scorers.
10 years in the NBA, Anthony Davis out of Kentucky. Look at the drive by Poole!
The only problem is that he got a bit too cocky for his own good, picking fights with Draymond Green and playing himself out of the team. He got traded to the Washington Wizards in 2023, carrying a huge 4-year, $128 million sum. The Wizards thought that they had the makings of a young star, but Poole never played close to his value with the Wizards. He seems to be quite casual with his play, and it looks like he doesn't even care about whether or not he's winning. It's possible that he could still get back to his old self when he was with the Dubs, but at this point, his contract is simply a liability. Tobias Harris, 5 years, $180 million. In 2019, Tobias Harris had the season of his life, averaging over 20 points while playing for the LA Clippers. The Philadelphia 76ers needed to surround Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons with shooters, so they made a move to acquire him. He played incredibly well behind Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and Jimmy Butler, as this team was a Kawhi Leonard shot away from making the East Finals.
Is this the dagger?
After that season, the Sixers, strapped for cash, decided to let Jimmy go as they signed Tobias Harris on a 5-year contract worth $180 million. Though he continued to play well during the regular season as a capable third option, he never played well enough to justify the money he was making. Moreover, he always seemed to struggle during the playoffs, most notably in his final game with the Sixers during the 2024 playoffs. It's safe to say the Clippers regretted choosing him over Butler, who's made the finals twice since then. Gilbert Arenas, 6 years, $111 million. There was a time when the Washington Wizards competed well enough with a core composed of Gilbert Arenas, Anton Jamison, and Karen Butler. Arenas was having the season of his career during the 2006-07 season. However, in 2007, he suffered a serious injury that kept him out of most of the season. In 2008, he pulled off the heist of a lifetime. He signed a 6-year deal worth $111 million with the Wizards, who thought that they could still have something special with Arenas.
Bench points, Cleveland with 24, 9 for Washington.
Lingering issues, however, kept him out of the lineup, as he played only 55 games in the next 3 seasons since signing that huge contract. He got traded to the Orlando Magic and eventually played for the Memphis Grizzlies. Arenas played only a total of 121 games from 2008 to 2012, eventually leaving the NBA and going to China. That final contract basically assured him financially for life, even though he barely played. Gordon Hayward, 4 years, $128 million. Coming off the season of his career when he was an all-star with the Utah Jazz, Gordon Hayward looked like a star on the rise. He eventually moved on to play with the Boston Celtics, a move that changed his career for the worse. In just his first game as a Celtic, he suffered a serious injury that kept him out the entire season. He was never the same since then. Although he played well for the Celtics the next 2 seasons, he didn't play up to par and was seemingly redundant because Boston had Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
Came downhill. Pulls it back out, trying to get downhill on Lopez. Takes it to the basket for 2.
Despite averaging only 17.5 points during the 2019-20 season, he got a sweet deal in a sign-and-trade agreement when the Celtics gave him a contract worth $128 million for 4 years and then traded him to the Charlotte Hornets. While he played well enough for the Hornets, he wasn't playing up to the level of a star worth that much money. On top of that, the Hornets weren't even close to being competitive as they wasted a ton of money on Hayward. Bradley Beal, 5 years, $251 million. Bradley Beal was playing like a superstar in the post-John Wall era in Washington as he was averaging 30 points for 2 straight seasons. He was playing his money's worth, especially with him carrying the Wizards on his shoulders, although that team wasn't headed somewhere. Still, in 2023, he signed a ridiculous 5-year deal worth $251 million. He subsequently requested a trade that got him sent to the Phoenix Suns. While the Suns acquired him to bolster their already impressive lineup of scorers, Beal wasn't healthy enough to prove that he's worth $250 million.
Chance at the last shot. Beal, tough fadeaway.
There were times when he was showing flashes of his elite form, but he wasn't exactly playing up to par in terms of his contract, all while struggling to contribute to a team that paid a ton of money but lost in the first round. The Wizards weren't smart to give him that contract, and the Suns weren't any smarter when they traded for him, knowing that they'd have to shell out a ton of cash. Chandler Parsons, 4 years, $94.5 million. There was a time when Chandler Parsons was playing well enough as a starter-level player, especially in the 2 years he spent with the Dallas Mavericks, but he was never close to the level of a star in terms of his production. Still, the Memphis Grizzlies saw something in him that the rest of the league didn't, and that vision bit him hard in the back. In 2016, the Grizzlies gave him $94.5 million for the next 4 years, as Parsons spent the next 4 seasons either injured or playing like a bad role player.
Valanciunas did a good job of staying big while being physical. Parsons with a baseline drive!
He appeared in just 95 games, averaging only around 7 points for the Grizzlies. That 4-year deal was his final contract in the NBA. After he moved to the Atlanta Hawks in 2019, he couldn't find another suitor when his contract ended. Still, he was set for life, especially after using Jedi mind tricks to convince the Grizzlies that he was worth nearly $100 million. Ben Simmons, 5 years, $177 million. Newsflash, the Philadelphia 76ers not only chose to keep Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler, but also chose to pay Ben Simmons a huge sum instead of keeping a bit more money for the competitive wing. While Simmons looked like he was worth the money because he was a special talent at one point in his life, the Sixers now regret giving him a huge 5-year deal worth $177 million.
The Sixers out of the timeout. Simmons slamming it down!
After the Sixers collapsed in the playoffs in 2021 due to Simmons struggling from the free throw line and infamously passing up a wide-open layup out of fear of getting fouled, he barely played up to par. Simmons eventually got traded to the Brooklyn Nets, who couldn't get a healthy version of the former All-Star as the Australian prodigy couldn't stay healthy. Back issues continued to plague him. And even when he was playing, he just didn't look confident and competitive enough to want to be the best version of himself. John Wall. 4 years, $170 million. There's something about the Wizards giving out a ton of big contracts that only end up becoming some of the worst deals of all time. He was one of the best point guards in the NBA during his peak because he defended well and could run the point with the best of them. However, injuries eventually robbed him of his explosiveness, the best aspect of his game.
Has had 2 games with 19 points, but in the last 2, as Wall drives and slams it in.
Still, in 2017, Wall signed a 4-year contract worth $170 million. Injuries kept him out of the lineup for 3 seasons until he got traded to the Houston Rockets, where he scored 20 points in 40 games. Not bad for a man making more than $40 million a year. The Rockets were willing to keep him when they gave him a choice whether to play 10 minutes a game next year or get traded. The 5-time All-Star chose the latter. His gamble bit him hard as he was sitting at home making millions of dollars, but failing to get another good deal. Wall ended his NBA career in 2023, unable to find another team willing to take him and his ego in.